It's time to get out of the shop and do some road work.
Today on Road Work, we're going to do some mileage testing. We're going to check out that old story about turning over the top of your air cleaner to increase your mileage. On our truck here, we've installed a little test tank. We put exactly a half gallon of gas in it, warmed the truck up, took it to 60 miles an hour, locked it on cruise control, and when we went by a first pylon we'd set on the highway, we switched to our test tank. We know how far we went because we marked that with another pylon. We're going to duplicate the test with the same amount of gas and see if we go further with the top of our air cleaner turned. Let's go have a look at that. This is an old hot rodder's trick. I'm not saying you should do this because manufacturers put all these tubes on for a reason. We've got our air cleaner turned, locked down. We're going to see if we get better mileage. Let's go for a drive. We're coming up on our first pylon where we're going to start this test run. We got our air cleaner turned over, so we've got lots of air going in. We're going to switch to our test tank right at this pylon. Right now. We made just over 6 miles the first run. Let's see what we get this time. We're coming up on our final pylon. We're still rolling. Oh, we're coughing out just at the pylon. We're getting a little more distance because we're letting the truck roll out as far as it'll go. So we made it a little bit further with our air cleaner reversed. Our calculations are all done and we got a little bit better mileage with that air cleaner turned over. Over about 6 miles, we rolled 1,410 extra feet. That calculates out to about a half a mile to the gallon. I'm not going to suggest you do that on your car, but it does make a good case for keeping your air filter clean.
This has been Road Work with Bob Bourke. It's time to get out of the shop and do some road work.
Today on Road Work, we're going to talk about pulsating brake pedals. A pulsating brake pedal is one that moves under your foot when you're applying your brakes steadily. You'll notice it more at low speeds when you're coming up to an intersection, and the pulsation will kind of slow down as your vehicle slows down. This can be a sign of an expensive problem, but there's 2 or 3 things that you can check yourself that might save you an expensive repair. Let's have a look. Speaking of repairs, this truck could use a few. First thing is to jack up your vehicle and take off your front wheel. You can find your brake rotor in behind. There's several causes of pulsation that are fairly cheap to fix. If you've got a vehicle you don't drive too much and you live in an area where there's lots of rain, you may find a spot of rust will build up underneath the brake shoe on the rotor. You can see that, a spot of rust. And if you've got that problem, it'll disappear when you drive the vehicle a little more. The other thing to look for is a warped brake rotor. You can tell that by spinning it. Now I've got some pulsation in this truck and I've got a slight tight spot right here. So I've got a very slightly warped rotor. Now this is not really an expensive repair. You can have these removed and machined for about $10 each. If you have a front wheel drive vehicle, you may want to go to a professional to have that taken off. Another thing to look for is in a lot of smaller cars and import cars, tightening these wheel bolts too tightly on one side and not the other, not tightening them evenly, can actually warp that rotor slightly and cause a pulsation. The way to fix that is to get a torque wrench. If you've got a friend who's a mechanic, you can borrow one, otherwise go and rent one. Tighten your bolts evenly, set them to about 50 pounds, do them carefully with a torque wrench, and see if that cures your problem.
This has been Road Work with Bob Bourke. It's time to get out of the shop and do some road work.
Today on Road Work, we want to talk about trailer hitches and trailer pulling. If you're just going to pull around a light little utility trailer, you can use a fairly light hitch. If you've got an old half-ton like this, you got her made. All you got to do is drop a ball in one of the holes, tighten it up real good, and hook it up. If you're going to pull a bigger trailer, you can do that with this type of a hitch, but I want to suggest to you, if you've got a half-ton, you check underneath where your back bumper bolts onto your frame and make sure that stays tight for you. The real answer, especially if you're going to pull a holiday trailer, is this type of a hitch. You can buy this from car dealers, you can buy it in the aftermarket. It's a bolt-together system that's custom-made for each vehicle, and it bolts on. The beauty of this is that you can pull a big trailer and you can use interchangeable shanks. This is what's called a receiver, and this is called a shank. You can change different hitch configurations by sliding in a different shank. If you need a drop hitch, you can buy a shank like this. If you need your hitch higher, you can buy a shank like this. The other nice thing about this is that if you take the shank out when you're not pulling your trailer, you've got a flush back bumper, so you don't have to worry about backing into people. One little tip to remember here is that a lot of these shanks have got a large hole in them. If you put a ball in that hole, you want it to fit tightly. Remember, with trailer pulling, you want everything as tight as possible. There's a special bushing that fits in there to take up that slack. One other thing that most people may not know, this is a little ball coupler off a standard little utility trailer. These are adjustable. A lot of people don't know this. As your ball gets older and your hitch gets older, you'll wear in this area and have quite a bit of slack. What you want when this is set on a ball and tightened down is about 1/8 of an inch of up and down movement. If you don't have that, you can adjust it right here with this little self-locking nut. So set that tightly, and remember, always use the right size of ball and coupler.
This has been Road Work with Bob Bourke. It's time to get out of the shop and do some road work.
Today on Road Work, we want to talk about trailer tongue weights. We've got a little utility trailer here we're going to use to demonstrate this to you. This applies to big trailers, boat trailers, tandem trailers, holiday trailers, anything you might pull. Any good trailer is going to have some tongue weight when it's empty. It's not so convenient for getting it hooked up, but it's very important. And you have to remember to keep some weight on the tongue of your trailer when you load it, or you can have some serious difficulties. I'm going to hook this up and we're going to take you out on the road and show you a demonstration of what happens if you load your trailer wrong and create negative tongue weight. I loaded about 300 pounds of weight right into the front of this little utility trailer. Now our tongue weight is so heavy that I couldn't take this trailer off the hitch if I wanted to, but this is a safe way to pull. We'll show you out in the highway. Here we are with our weight up front, so we got lots of tongue weight, and you can see how that trailer follows the truck when we change lanes at high speed. What we're doing now is shifting our 300 pounds of weight right to the very back of the trailer. And we're going to show you how dangerous this is when you've got negative tongue weight. Now we've got our load at the back, and watch when we change lanes how that trailer sways around and doesn't want to follow. That was pretty wild, wasn't it? You saw what happened when we had some negative tongue weight from having too much weight in the back of a trailer. Whether you're pulling a boat or a holiday trailer or a utility trailer, remember this: when you load things into it, keep them towards the front to keep most of your weight on the tongue, and you won't have that whipping problem when you hit a little rough spot in your road or travel in a crosswind.
This has been Road Work with Bob Bourke.